Aber Leute, wir gehen jetzt zusammen in den Edge of Fate Developer Livestream rein und gucken mal, was abgeht, was wir gezeigt bekommen, was zu Arma 3.0 noch gesagt wird, welche neuen Waffen wir eventuell noch sehen. Das werden wir uns jetzt alles anschauen. Der Stream wird dieses Mal vom lieben DMG geleitet, im Vergleich zu den anderen. Also sind wir mal gespannt, was die ganzen Developer und alle dazu sagen werden. Und damit geht's los. Die Liste kann ich später schicken. Oh, wir starten direkt mit dem Trailer. Okay.
So Kepler's a place touched by the Nine, concealing a lot of secrets and danger. And it's somewhere that human scientists travel to a long
kriegen wir ein
time
kleines
ago to
Weidock-Element.
research dormant singularity. While living on Kepler, not only did they observe the collapse, they survived it.
Mysteries of Kepler.
And over time, the ideals of the scientific process they held to were enshrined in their culture, and they came to be known as the Ionians.
Die Ionians.
The Elixni House of Exile arrived during the Dark Age, weary from the Long Drift. They didn't invade Earth with the other Elixni houses. Instead, they sought a new home, which they found alongside the Ionians. But the dark matter that permeates Kepler and that they converted into the ether they need to survive ended up being toxic. So when the Ionians failed to cure them, the house rose up under an archon, claiming to be blessed with prophetic sight.
Okay, das heißt, sie haben aus der dunklen Materie ihren Ether gemacht, die Gefallenen,
And they'll
okay?
stand opposed to the Guardian as they walk the winding pathways of Kepler, learning more about what called them there in the first place. Guardian's paracausal
Da ist
power
wieder der
acts
Zug.
as a catalyst for the normally corrosive force of dark matter. These new powers will allow them to unlock long-sealed passageways for the Ionians as they make their way to the singularity at the core of the planetoid.
Oh, okay.
So from the start, we focused on building Kepler as more of a dungeon-like destination. It expands on the interconnected world
Ja, das haben
design
wir
of
schon öfters
places like
gehört.
the Leviathan or the Shattered Throne.
Ist eher wie so eine Dungeon-like Mystery Puzzle Location ist.
And unlock enemy tech that expands your navigation and aids you in combat.
Das ist die Teleportkanone.
These are all about going places you would normally think are out of reach.
Ja genau, das ist das ganze Metroidvania-like.
Ball of arc energy. It's like
Dieser ganze
nothing we've done in Destiny
Metroidvania-Kram.
before. The Mattermorph ability lets you twist the objects in the world around you.
With Relocator, you've essentially co-opted the Fallen's teleportation networks and can use it to cross gaps you wouldn't have even considered before.
It'll be the small tells, an open vent, a broken window, things you want to remember because you might be revisiting them later.
Abilities
Ich
can
bin
be
sehr
upgraded,
gespannt,
so
inwiefern
as
wir
you
das
unlock new
revisiten
perks,
werden.
You can
Oh.
chain them into your build crafting in clever ways.
Okay, wir
By far,
leveln
the
die auch
most
noch.
game-changing is one of Matterspark's upgrades. On Kepler, it lets you turn into Matterspark the same way you'd summon a sparrow, wherever and whenever.
Oh, das ist ein cooles Upgrade.
It will optimize not only exploration, but also combat on future
Einfach als
places in
Sparrow-Ersatz
super creative
Metaspark.
ways.
Okay.
There are tons of cool combinations. You can suspend an enemy with
Oh, die Waffe haben wir noch nicht gesehen gehabt,
bend a
glaube ich.
path up toward the sky, and then in mid-air, leap into Matterspark to dash across the arena and arc chain a group of enemies.
The team has already seen players pairing abilities with different exotic perks and aspects to create some really crazy builds.
We know this is only the
Da
beginning
sehen wir die
and
Vex
can't
von-
wait to see what happens
War das
when players get
Maya?
their hands on this kit.
Hast du gerade Maya gesehen? Okay. Okay. Tommy, danke für den Follow.
All right.
DMG!
Hello, welcome to Bungie, and welcome to our Destiny 2 Edge of Fate live stream. This will be the first live stream that we have leading into launch. Big shout out to
Der
the
first,
folks that we
also
had
kriegen wir noch
on our
mehr.
Dev Insight video. We were just talking about Kepler, destination abilities, some of the
Das fand ich
secrets of
guten Ansatz. Ey.
Kepler and the Aeonians, but we're going to leave that for a later date for you to discover. Today we're going to be talking a bunch about Sandbox. We have a bunch of core feature updates with Armor 3.0, gear tiering, some new loot for you to grind out, and a bunch of cool things to show. So without further ado, let's get to it. We have a wonderful panel of developers on our couch. Some of them are new, some of them you've seen before. But yeah, let's start out with Eric. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, Dylan.
Yeah. For folks that maybe haven't seen you on a previous live stream where you've talked about burst weapons and all the cool ability stuff, who are you? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Eric Smith, gameplay lead on Destiny
Haben wir schon
2,
öfters
and I'm
gesehen.
excited to dive into our sandbox changes.
Awesome. Vivian, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream format. We've seen you on Vidocs from time to time, but yeah, for folks that haven't met you, seen you on our Vidocs. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm Vivian Bex. I'm a sandbox designer on Destiny. I get the privilege of making like a lot of the toys that players get to use, you know, like weapons and stuff. Recently, I've kind of been all over the sandbox team, and I have some very exciting stuff to show today. I'm really excited.
Man. Yeah.
Okay. Mal gucken, was. Also, die Skill-Sachen sahen interessant aus zum Leveln von Metaspark und sowas gerade eben.
I'm doing great.
Das hatten wir noch gar nicht gesehen.
What do you do here, buddy?
Taylor Bjorndal, associate weapons designer, sandbox designer. I've also bounced around and done a lot of stuff. Excited to talk about all of the million things we changed.
Yeah, right. I think the last time we had you on the couch, we were talking grid skipper roles and things like that.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Oh ja, stimmt, das ist lange her, dass dabei war.
As we're diving into this, we have quite a bit to go through in the show. And to start, we're actually going to be in the shooting range. We're going to have our gameplay specialist going through, showing you some of the new weapons, some of the new
Das ist so nice, dass sie jetzt halt die Shooting Range dafür haben zu zeigen.
This will be playing in the background. You'll see them tuning a couple different enemies, playing around, damage types, that kind of stuff.
Der Dummy heißt sogar Karl. Da habe ich gar nicht drauf geachtet vorher.
Eric, if we can talk about like where did we start with ammo? Where was it back in the day? Where are we going?
Okay, ammo system
for our changes.
Yeah, so when Destiny 2 launched, we had armor in the game, but there were 3 stats. There were no mods available. And then with Shadowkeep, we hit armor 2.0, where we added 3 additional stats for a total of 6.
Genau.
And armor
Da
mods
sehen wir die
as well.
Set-Bonis.
And this is the next evolution for the new saga of Destiny 2. In Armor 3.0, we are adding, or we're reworking the stats. We're adding set bonuses, and we are adding gear tiers as well.
Yeah.
The kind of the goals with Armor 3.0. So one,
Dummy
we want
of
to make armor
practice,
more
yeah.
exciting and desirable. When's the last time you saw a purple armor dropped and you were, thrilled to go pick it up and see what was inside? And then we want to rework the stats to make sure no stat is left behind.
Das ist die Rocket Sidearm übrigens. Die neue Solar Rocket Sidearm. Das ist der neue Wunschender Legendary Bogen, glaube ich.
And the team really is approachability. There are a lot of new UI tools where you're hovering over perks, stats, all that kind of stuff. You're seeing actual percentages, you're seeing more.
Das ist so ein großer Change, ne? Dass wir jetzt endlich Prozente im Spiel sehen. Hat aber echt lange gedauert, aber es ist eine große Änderung.
Digest and understand what's going on, and this, looking at the shooting range here, is a great example of this. Like where I can just go and see how much damage I'm doing, and test out my weapons, test out these builds, and see the actual changes that my new armor and whatnot is giving me.
Yeah, and you can load in here with a full fire team of 6 if you want to check out raid boss damage, or just come in here by yourself if you're on Discord talking to friends.
Das ist so gut für Raid Boss Damage Testing.
So let's really quick talk about stats. This is one of the major overhauls. A couple things are
Bin sehr gespannt, wie das
being added.
in Vorbereitung für den Raid das ändern wird für die Teams.
Quick scroll through some of the stats. Go ahead and give us.
Yeah. So we've removed some stats. We've removed resilience. We've removed
Mobility.
Recovery.
Mobility.
Yes.
Da steht Schaden und DPS. Du kannst alles testen jetzt. Das ist perfekt.
Melee and grenade, super, class, and then our weapon stat. So this is a entirely new suite of stats.
Da habe ich immer noch so Angst
All
vor.
of our stats now, instead of going to 100, they go to 200. So once you go above 100, you get an additional benefit put on top of
das wird halt
the 0 to 100 benefit.
sehr wichtig werden, dieser Stat.
On the ability side, we are giving you kind of your uptime and how much energy you're getting in the 0 to 100 range. And then the 100 to 200 range, we're increasing things like damage, things like survivability, which is somewhere we've never really, gone into. And it's going to really give players more tools to customize their build, kind of pinpoint single, like I'm gonna be this
das war das Artefakt übrigens, glaube ich, wenn ich mich nicht irre, diese Kugeln, die ihr rausfliegen sehen habt. Eins dieser Solar-Artefakte, die wir jetzt bekommen, also Artefakt-Mods in dem Fall. Das, was zum Weapon-Set wird, aktuell auf eurer Rüstung übrigens, ist Mobility nach wie vor. Also deswegen farmen viele Leute auch Mobility-Rüstung.
Balancing in the PvP, making sure this is kind of like cherry on top. It doesn't change the time to kill too much, but it's kind of like a
kritisches
cost
Thema.
balancing factor, right? If you want that extra damage, you lose out on grenades, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to go all in
Ja,
on
das
weapons,
ist der Raid-Boss,
your
glaube ich,
weapons are
ne?
going to be more potent than they
Ja,
were before,
das ist
but
der
it's
Raid-Boss-Dummy.
at the expense of your other abilities and that sort of thing. So we have done extensive testing to make sure we're not breaking PvP. That said, you know, in the first day that this comes out, the amount of
Am
hours
ersten
being
Tag
put
wird
into this
PvP
by
halt
genius members of the community is going to dwarf
trotzdem
what we've
kaputt
done.
sein.
So it's a little bit scary how much change we've actually put in this. The team's worked so hard across the entire game.
Aber das werden wir uns alles am 15. Juli anschauen, Leute, ne? Full Week Stream, ihr wisst Bescheid.
The pre-Edge of Fate numbers
Wir werden
and
sehen.
feel of the game.
Ihr werdet live dabei sein.
Really, across the game, we have just changed so much.
It's very different. It's not really easy to compare the experience.
Das ist mit wirklich einer der größten Änderungen, dass wir jetzt einfach eine Shooting Range haben.
People are playing right now.
But at the same time, it still feels like Destiny.
Yeah,
Das wird alles so viel einfacher machen zum Testen für euch, für Videos und so weiter und so fort.
Agency do I have in leaning into some of these things and embracing like a role-playing mechanic?
Yeah.
One of the cool things is like internally, I think the most common thing we say on like our sandbox channel now has just like emerged as, man, I can't wait for 900. Like the sandbox is really exciting. There's a lot of really specific builds you can do. Like if you want to be the melee guy, you can be the melee guy more than ever before, right? And it's
Ja, bei Melee mit den Änderungen.
Speaking of embracing some of these
Mal gucken.
different lanes,
Oh Gott, nicht
we actually
Wyverns,
have
bitte
3
nicht.
new exotics coming with the Edge of Fate. Each class is going to get 1 new exotic. Each embrace a different sort of vibe.
Die
or
neuen
theme.
Exos haben wir auch schon gesehen.
Yeah, you can see them on screen. I think first we're going to start with the Warlock Exotic.
Genau.
And Bjorndal, you have all the
Das
details.
Warlock Exotic ist für die Solarseele in dem Fall.
NEUER, which is Warlock Exotic themed around the Hellion aspect.
Ja.
What this does is after your Hellion fires, after a certain amount of time, the projectile is going to shatter into a bunch of submunitions that will like seek nearby units and scorch
Haben wir auch
them.
hier nebenbei
And so
schon
it kinda,
gesehen,
like,
dass sich das
adds a
vorher so
little bit of, like,
aufsplittet.
skill play to something that was kind of more of a passive aspect in the past.
Yeah, and I think in the shooting range we can see like it can be both a single target or a group sort of ad clear exotic, right?
Yeah.
Kommt sehr auf die Range an, ne? Man hat gerade schon gesehen, dass es am Gegner vorbeigeflogen ist, weil es sich aufgesplittet hat. Also es kommt wirklich sehr auf die Range an und was man halt daraus haben möchte, ne? Ad clear ist auf höhere Range.
Because it like splits in mid-flight, you can kind of like control your spacing to like control the grouping of it. If you want to hit one target, you know, if you're at the right distance, you'll hit all 5, yeah. And they'll like burst way earlier than before. Or if you like get way back, you can just blanket a region.
Love it. Yeah, and we can see on the screen too, like some of the looks of the exotic and the Hellion have changed.
Yeah, so like
Ach stimmt, die Seele hat jetzt diese kleinen Streifen. Habe ich gar nicht drauf geachtet. Kann man bestimmt ein paar witzige Sachen mitmachen und ist wahrscheinlich halt für einen Warlock, wenn man Hellion spielt, ein passiver Damage Increase. Schätze ich. Aber das müssen wir alles testen. Aber dafür haben wir ja die Shooting Range jetzt.
It's so cool. I may have to start switching play Warlock.
Love it.
Gerade für Dämmerung könnte das ein nices Exo sein, glaube ich.
Yeah, so the Hunter exotic is Morai, which is a strand-themed exotic that's about your threaded spike and tangles.
Das ist eine coole Interaktion. Ich weiß nur noch nicht, wie useful das ist. Aber das könnte mit dem Strand Beyblade-Bild cool sein.
Throw your strand Hunter melee at it, it'll pop the tangle and then bring one back to you that if you catch the spike, you'll get another tangle. So you can like
spielt übrigens gerade die neue Exo-Handcannon.
Which works really well with a lot of Strand Hunter aspects like
so, wenn ihr jetzt den Spike wirft, sammelt er automatisch den Tangle auf und wird zu ihm zurück.
Oh boy. You get like even more.
Wait a second, Moment. Er hat das auf den... Ich wusste, dass man den Tangle einsammelt, aber... Man kriegt quasi einen zusätzlichen Tangle, wenn man das Beyblade-Ding ausgerüstet hat. Das wusste ich nicht. Okay, das ist crazy. Das heißt, es löst den Tangle am Ort aus, wo es gesammelt wird und gibt dir den Tangle noch zurück. Das heißt, du hast einfach wirklich doppelt so viele Tangles. Das wusste ich nicht. Das oh, das ist ein Kombi mit dem Artefakt sogar sehr interessant. Das wusste ich nicht.
to the tangle from enemies as well.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's something that has a lot of easy use. And
Dann kann man jetzt sogar wirklich einen
skill at the same time.
Tangle-Spam-Bild wahrscheinlich bauen.
Sorry, Titans. We'll get to you in a second. Really cool exotic. I do want to talk about Gambler's Dodge. In the last quiz, we talked about a bunch of abilities changes, exotic tuning.
Ich bin gespannt, weil das ist eine Änderung, die nicht gut angekommen ist.
Gambler's Dodge. It was updated and reworked, right?
Yeah, we have reworked Gambler's Dodge. So it's the energy you get when you dodge. It now scales on your melee stat, but you no longer have to dodge near enemies to get that energy. So I can dodge anywhere in the game. I don't have to worry about this invisible circle that's around me to know if I'm close enough. It is going to feel more consistent.
Okay.
If I build into melee, it's going to feel more powerful.
Okay. Ja, dann verstehe ich den Trade-off jetzt mehr.
The multiple charges, right?
So if you, like our bar for a lot of this stuff is if you are at 70 stat, you'll get the full refund like you used to. But if you go beyond that, you'll actually get a little bit more, which most of the time doesn't matter. But like if you're using like a Fiddy Spade or
okay, auf einem 70er Melee-Stat hat man immer noch den vollen Refund, nur dass du jetzt nicht mehr in der Nähe von Gegnern sein musst. Okay. Das finde ich sogar okay. Also das finde ich echt nicht so schlimm, wie es manche sich haben, also wie es manche dargestellt haben. Wenn du eh einen Melee-Build spielst, hast du meistens eh den Melee-Stat hochgepusht jetzt.
So yeah, let's go on to Titans. So this one thematically, I think,
mal gucken.
for me at least, I'm just like.
Ja, das werden wir so. Das wird das erste Extra sein, was wir testen wahrscheinlich. Das wird das erste sein, was wir testen werden, glaube ich. Den Wurfhammer zurückziehen können, wie Thor sein Hammer ist. Ja. Das ist richtig nice.
So there's like a little minigame loop here where you get a fire sprite, you pick it up, then you get a buff that lets you pull the hammer back to you. And if you pull the hammer back with good timing, it'll explode into like solar shrapnel and hit stuff for like extra damage on the way back. Kind of like how hammer saw works, and I think the hammer also will damage things on the return trip too. So if you position yourself well, you can actually like send it back through guys.
Line them up.
Back,
Yeah, we've wanted to do this for a long time, but it's been kind of a
aber ihr habt es gerade auch gesehen, Hammer ist instant zurückgekommen, ne? Er hat den Hammer so geworfen und hat ihn aufgesammelt und hat den Hammer sofort voll gehabt, weil der Melee-Stat voll genug ist. Das heißt, wir können wieder Titan Hammer-Builds spielen.
The performance. Yeah, the performance.
Yeah, you were talking about the animation, right?
Yeah.
Before this.
I love the performance on this thing. We've got like this beat where it's like all this magnetic like handshaking. It feels so good. We actually did like a new tech thing on this where if you're like looking off to the side, we kind of move the player's hand a little bit, so you're like still kind of actually pulling the hammer. And that's like the first time we've done that with like a world object, and it's very cool. It feels really good.
Okay, das passt. Ja, es ist ein nices Detail.
I think, so we're going to be getting into some more gameplay.
Ich glaube, das können mir sehr viel Spaß machen, das Exo.
In a minute, but before we go, I do want to ask for stats, and actually two things. With your exotics, there are going to be gear bonuses that you can build on top of, correct? And that's a new Armor 3.0 feature.
Yeah,
mit den Tier-Sets.
So gear bonuses when a new armor set drops. If you have 2 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get an additional perk. If you have 4 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get.
Oh, ich freue mich so sehr, endlich Tier-Sets mal in Destiny zu haben und die auszuprobieren.
2 pieces from one set, 2 pieces from
another set. Wir werden so viel Build-Crafting machen. Pimp my Build mit euch, wo ihr auch Builds einsenden könnt, wird auch, glaube ich, richtig cool werden dadurch.
And it's really enables you to
das würde in Age of Fate auf jeden Fall richtig losgehen.
Yeah, I think we have an example of this in the build right now. If gameplay specialists could inspect an armor piece, you can see. Yeah, here are some of the destination armor bonuses that you can
Genau, das war das von Kepler. Man kriegt, wenn man Raketen- oder Granatenwerfer-Kills macht, kriegt man Speed-Bonus.
Sorry, go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, so yeah, these are unique to
Und
the
wenn
armor
wir
set itself. something more than just like cosmetics that you might
Wenn
want
wir
out of
wenig
these.
HP sprinten oder suspended sind oder wir geslowt sind, kriegen wir auch noch einen Speed Boost für eine kurze Duration.
Besides just fashion. Although fashion is still very important.
You can still
Ich
use
wünschte, ich könnte Credit dafür nehmen, Patino, aber ich hab's mir schon immer gewünscht.
And, I mean, we also get to make perks that are like, I'm the this guy, you know, because you're investing.
Ich hab's mir schon immer gewünscht.
4-piece perk.
Sag ich ganz
But
ehrlich.
What's really cool about this is like, I think this is going to be very cool at live when we like launch. But I think in like 2, you know, releases or whatever, just a little bit in the future, we're going to see people go like, hey, remember that armor that I, you know, that
Mixing
I got?
like something from 2 seasons ago.
Right, the
now.
2-piece perk from Kepler is really cool with whatever, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and then the second piece of this is going to be for the stats rework. Some of the fragments are going to be reworked as well to adopt new stats or change, right?
Yeah,
Fragment rework.
Fragments still can adjust your stats up or down depending on your
Lass mal
build.
sehen.
And some of these, you know, because we
Minus 10 Grenade,
perks,
plus 10 Klasse.
stats rather. Some of these are new.
Das sieht noch recht normal aus.
Some of these will have weapon stat, which never have happened before, which just opens up new build crafting avenues.
Gibt es auch welche, die Weapon Stat haben, ja? Okay. Da bin ich gespannt, welche Fragmente da angepasst werden. Mit welchen Stats. Ob positiv oder negativ.
Players have a lot of different ways to build out their stats and become the grenade master, the weapon master, and whatever they want to do.
So, quick shout out, Dark Slifer, Childish CG,
Was
and
zur Hölle, wo
Snivvyland
kommt
for
das
those
jetzt
last
wieder
2
her?
questions. They actually asked them ahead of time. Feel free to keep dropping questions in chat. I'm glancing
Ich
down
glaube,
here
das ist
every so
irgendeine
often.
Erweiterung, die wieder an ist, warum auch immer.
Now it is time to move on and let's talk about some new stuff.
Solange es nicht
Vivian,
wieder passiert,
you
ist
have
okay.
been very excited
Was
about
war
a
das
new
Blaue
weapon
gerade im Turm?
archetype that is coming with the Edge of Fate.
I sure am.
Das war nicht Kampagne,
for
oder?
centuries, humanity has wondered, like, what would a legendary bow look like in the heavy slot? And today I have your answer. For Edge of Fate, we are building a crossbow. It plays like a new archetype, but it is technically a bow for the purposes of, you know, like, it's gonna fill all your bounties, that kind of stuff.
Go!
Now, so when we went to go make this, we knew
Was
like,
habe
it's
ich
a very
euch
cool
bei
fantasy, right?
freaking
We want the
Destiny
feeling of, like,
Rising
really
gesagt?
drawing it back and it hitting a single target and doing a ton of damage. But we do have linear fusion rifles, right?
Was habe ich gesagt?
What does this do that's different? What's the fun
Was habe ich
gameplay here?
gesagt?
And
Oh
we
mein
settled
Gott.
on,
Und Legendary sogar, nicht mal
when you shoot
Exotic.
that big heavy bolt and it hits your target, you can just go pick it back up. So this thing theoretically is a heavy weapon with unlimited ammo. You can use the same
Excuse
bolt
me?
for an entire Nightfall if you want. I would love to see
Ne
someone
heavy
go
Moment.
clear a dungeon without ever using
Heavy
anything
Weapon
else
mit
or
theoretisch
whatever, you know?
unendlich Muni, weil du
It's
kannst
very cool.
den
You
Bolzen
put
immer
yourself
wieder
in danger, you have to go
aufsammeln.
grab it, but it's just such a satisfying loop to just like
Okay.
pull it out of some,
Das heißt, der
you know,
funktioniert
dead
anders als in
eye.
Destiny Rising. In Destiny Rising ist es
Just
quasi
put
ein
it in the
vollautomatischer
rail, pull it
Crossbow.
back, use the
Und das
same
ist
bolt
quasi
to shoot
ein
someone else. It's great.
wirklicher Crossbow, wo du einen Bolzen
Last week
schießt.
in a PvP playtest, I saw someone run the entire map with a single bolt, and they just kept it alive.
Oh mein Gott, an PvP habe ich gar nicht
That
gedacht.
was me. I'm sorry.
I can hear the PvP mains, like, when you said infinite heavy ammo, they're like, excuse me?
Yeah,
but it's like, you gotta go
You
pick
gotta
that
go
thing up.
get it. Yeah. So it's not free, but
And-
it is very potent.
Ach
And in
du
PvP, you only
Scheiße.
get the one. You gotta get the headshot,
Yeah.
and it's very funny.
Okay,
it
es muss
ends up
ne-
being like this game of
okay.
like keep away, where you're like, we cannot let Taylor get near this thing. Like,
Oh, da bin ich
So as we're
gespannt.
going into this activity, we'll get some
Wir kriegen
gameplay
Crossbows.
footage. This is a good example of the
Da ist
portal
er.
system that we'll be talking about next week on July 1st.
Geil.
Make sure to tune in. But we're going to be taking some content from just the history of Destiny, and it will be in the portal to go in
kann
and
die
play.
alle halt wieder
Our
aufsammeln.
progression, We'll be talking about that next week, so stay tuned for that. Vivian, back to the heavy
Hat der
crossbow,
Rolling
though. You were talking about this being
Ja,
legendary,
du hebst
so that
den-
means random rolls.
Und die
and
Waffe
you
wird
had
automatisch
mentioned
nachgeladen.
bolts.
yes, yeah. So we had a really fun opportunity when we were making this, where we go to the talent grid. And
Wir sehen
you know,
auch
we always want to make stuff
unten
kind of like new and different.
die
And we got to the
neue,
talent
das
grid
neue
and we're like,
Bewertungssystem.
This thing does not have a magazine. We cannot put magazines on this, right? And it gave us the opportunity to like really go, what would like a different magazine plug system look like? And so what we ended up going for is like, we have bolt types. And the bolt types, instead of just being stats, they're going to alter the way the bolt actually behaves out in the world.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we've got, one of them is like explosive bolt, where it's going to put
Ja,
in
ich
a
wollte gerade
target,
sagen.
it'll like beep, 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 and it'll just explode.
Das heißt, die
Kinda like
Mag-Options
a
sind in dem Fall
grenade launcher,
Bolt-Options und die
and then we
beeinflussen
have,
wirklich, wie der Bolzen
My
funktioniert.
personal favorite is that we have serrated bolts. I remembered to say the shipping name this time.
Oh, you can say, yeah.
used
If
to
it
be
doesn't have
tactical.
3 names, it's not real game dev.
I never know when things go live. I never
No,
know. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, you guys know better than I do
But
the
yeah,
names.
go ahead.
But yeah, so we have serrated bolts, and you can put like the bolt in a target with serrated bolts, and you can normally draw them back out of living targets, but if you have serrated bolts, they're gonna deal damage on the exit too. And it is so satisfying to like land the final hit with the pull, and you just pull back your bolts and you get them, and they just
Steckst
go
den,
flying.
den Bolzen wirklich in den Gegner und reißt den raus und machst nochmal Damage.
It's something.
Das
Really
ist
quick, just on the topic of ammo, there are new ammo meters. Bjorn, we were going to talk about this in the fire and knife shooting range. But we actually
Infinite
have some
Heavy
live gameplay
Ammo
where we can see these
Crossbow.
meters, working out. Can you talk us through what
Da
is
soll
this
ich
new
nicht kommen
system?
sehen.
How does it work? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's
Okay,
been a pretty
ammo
big
meter.
shakeup in
Unten.
the way that ammo
Hier
works in the game, where in the past it wasn't really anything that you had too much control over, but now it is something that you have like a lot of control over and a lot of build crafting hooks to optimize or like make your own. And it almost like kind of works like an ability or like a super does now, where it lives in your weapon tray. You can see there below the weapons.
Ja, das ist von der Season of the Witch. Ist wahrscheinlich einfach in dem im Bild, der Testbild von denen. Ich weiß nicht, ob das wirklich eine aktuelle mit Edge of Fate ist. Also mal abwarten, Leute. Könnte aber sein, dass es im Portal jetzt auch die alten Season Activities auswählbar gibt. Fände ich sogar decent, weil dann werden die nicht gewastet.
Pretty much all the things that used to be finders or inventory now fit into ammo generation, which is like a new weapon stat. So players have a lot of. Ich bin gespannt, was der Crossbow für Perks haben kann, vor allem in Kombi mit diesen Bolzen, die du ja customizen kannst jetzt. Da bin ich gespannt drauf.
And we'll be talking about this in depth in a future Twitter blog, so stay tuned for that, especially PvP heads. I've already seen conversation from our content creator videos going out. But before we get out of combat, I do want to talk about, alongside the new weapon archetype of the crossbow, we have some new weapon frames coming to the game.
Yeah, we do.
Mhm.
So,
genau, das haben wir schon gesehen.
Alright, yeah, so
haben wir eben drüber gesprochen.
hand cannon. It's like a big
Shotgun Head Cannon. Hand Cannon, Raketenimpulsgewehr, Wunschender in Legendär. Two-Tap mit PvP. Oh mein Gott.
It's very limited. It's like a
auf Close Range, ne? Aber
big punchy sidearm, but like even less range than a sidearm.
Weniger Range als ein Sidearm.
This thing has become my baby in PvP. I love this thing.
It's pretty great.
It's kind of like having like a
Full Choke auf einer Handcannon ist auch wirklich. Das sieht so falsch aus. Aber ich meine, sie hatten auch gesagt, dass es aus dem Crafting sogar teilweise entstanden ist, wenn ich mich nicht irre. Was ich wiederum cool finde. Ja, genau, die Munitionsbalken zeigen an, wann die Muni wieder droppt. Du kannst jetzt genau sehen, wann das kommt.
Yeah, so we made a longbow, which is like a big, heavy warbow. Even slower draw than precisions, but more damage.
Ja,
and
das ist quasi Wunschender in Legendär.
Intrinsic overpenetration. So if you line up a bunch of Thrall and you like hip fire a full draw, it'll just go straight through all of them with one shot.
Trenchbell auf einer, ja, das sieht auch falsch aus.
Damage numbers have been squished a little bit, so they actually mean something now. Because if you look at how much damage this bow is doing compared to like each one of those pellets in the hand cannon.
Yeah,
right.
Like
when like
ist immer noch so ungewohnt, dass die Schadenszahlen jetzt wieder so klein sind.
Yeah, it's hard to compare.
Yeah, start to be meaningless, but for me, we've just changed so much, and I can't
Aber
overstate.
Big Number, go bigger. Hallo.
Yeah, how much has changed and how.
Meinst du, die ist broken im PvP? Die Handcannon?
I guess evolving.
Kommt, glaube ich, sehr auf die Ranges an. Ist das ein, mir fällt es jetzt erst auf, ist das ein neuer Bane? Oder habe ich den einfach noch nie gesehen? Mit Schild.
Yeah. Did you see that front shielded ogre?
Das ist ein neuer Bane, ne?
We have a new, we'll talk about this next
Ja,
week.
sagt er sogar selber gerade. Hören wir nächste Woche.
Banes are incredible. I'm very excited for players.
Okay.
Oh boy, yeah. New Banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, das heißt, nächste Woche hören wir über Banes und Modifier.
We got on tap is going to be a special weapon, another burst.
Sie ist das Raketenimpulsgewehr.
So, I know a lot of people are big fans of rocket-assisted sidearms. Now we have a rocket-assisted frame pulse rifle. So that fits a similar role, but a little bit different. It's a little more ammo hungry than the sidearms. Got a bit more range and hits a bit harder. So it kind of fits in between.
Mal gucken, ob es wirklich mehr ammo-hungry ist, weil...
also kind of fires a little bit differently than pulse rifles, which is interesting, just because like all of our pulse rifles have like different burst delay, but when you're firing each pulse, they all have like the same rate of fire. So this, instead of being
Richtig,
like
ein Schuss sind 3 Rockets, ne? Also guck mal unten drauf.
It feels heavier and it's firing these like big, slower projectiles, so it feels chunkier.
Thank you for doing a Dave Samuel impression there.
I aspire to greatness.
Yeah.
This thing is like real cool. It's real heavy, but it's also like, you know, like we said, it's like pretty ammo hungry. One of the cool things about 900 is like we have the ammo stat. You know, you can build into that. You can eliminate that downside, and now you can see it working.
Yeah, same for the longbow too. Like there were some perks on the random rolls that you can go in, less than the draw time. Like sure, it's still going to be a little bit slow fiery, heavy hitting, but there's a bunch of ways that you can build craft into
Ich hab Solar Flare. Habt ihr das gesehen? Die Solarkugeln könnt ihr aufheben.
Yeah, right. So as we're going through this transition,
comeback.
We actually have a bunch more to cover, and gear tiering has been top of mind for a lot of players ever since our reveal stream. So Eric, I'd love to dive in and just revisit what's the high-level vision statement for gear tiering and how we're getting players reinvested in some of that.
Yeah, so gear tiering enables players to look at a piece of gear at a glance and like understand how powerful it is. So you can see those kind of 5 icons or 5 little dots there.
Da seht ihr die Stats.
Fifth tier.
Je höheres Tier, desto mehr Stats. And Stat-Tuning.
The stat package or the stat pool that each piece gives
Ja,
is
Tier
going
5
to depend on the tier.
da
So you can
brauchen wir
tier
dringend.
1 is going to drop between 52 and 57 stat totals.
75 plus.
At tier 5, you are guaranteed 75 stats plus stat tuning, which lets you kind of add some.
Yeah, shout out to, there were a bunch of folks that were asking, what are stat bands? Because in the game right now, it's what is low to a given player. Like 62 feels low, but an actual definition is like 58 or lower.
Yeah.
In the game now, we have UI that tells you exactly what are the stat bands for each of the tiers, so you know what you're looking for as you're trying to build to 200 or
Ja, wir werden eh nur für Tier 5 gehen, sobald es geht. Also, was machen wir uns vor, Leute? Große Zahl ist gleich besser. Also, ich glaube, das weiß jeder von euch, ne? Also... Aber es dauert ja, bis wir Tier 5 Loot auch bekommen werden. Muss man ja auch sagen, das dauert ein bisschen.
Like I know a lot of people, like, you go into a master dungeon to farm some artifice armor, and you don't know if you're going to get like 55 or 70. That's like an extremely wide
man
range,
weiß jetzt
but, like, that takes
deutlich
a lot
besser,
of
was
time
man
and
farmt
effort to
auch.
get through. So now it's just like you're going into the toppest end difficulty thing to get tier 5s. You know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
So it's significantly more likely that when you get your drop, it's going to be something valuable. It might not be valuable to your exact build, but it will be valuable. It will be the
wir werden echt viel Rüstung farmen.
That you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Aber da habe ich auch Bock drauf.
With the new
Gerade mit den
system,
Tier
which we'll
Sets.
talk about next week, you're going to have a score goal that you want to hit to get that exact armor piece, and it's like more targeted farming or more targeted. You know, if I want to chase a certain thing, like I know what I have to do.
103 total stats.
I know what it's going to give me as far as the total value, right?
Yeah.
And it's just much more clear. And exciting. So.
Ja, bestimmt, das stimmt schon, Patino, aber man will halt auch bestimmte Stats auf 200 haben, ne? Und denkt dran, jeder einzelne Punkt gibt euch jetzt bessere Stats in dem Sinne und nicht mehr alle 10 Stufen.
If you want to really max out stats, you can just look for that, you know, emblem. You'll know what your armor is kind of like going to be good at, and it's like,
you can see that like at the your main inventory level too. So you're just like mousing over, like, oh, I just got a bunch of drops. What did I get? Cool. Is it gunner? Is it grenadier?
Right.
Like, what is the thing that I want? You can use that as like a quick reference rather than needing to go all the way into inspection and see like the exact stats.
And the last detail
Exo?
on tier 5 for
Wie
armor,
sieht's bei den
we
Exo-Class-Items
mentioned
aus?
this in the reveal stream,
schade.
but you can get to 11 energy for your armor, so it helps with build crafting. You can get more.
Ja, das macht's für 1, 2 Builds auf jeden Fall angenehmer, weil oft halt ein Punkt gefehlt hat. Das habe ich richtig oft auf Armen.
I would love to. We have some examples of tier 1, tier 3, and tier 5 weapons to show what is that progression looking like.
Yeah, similarly, when a weapon drops, I'm able to just glance at it and be like, oh, tier 1 weapon. It's going to have
Steht sogar
base
in-game
stats.
dran,
It's
ne?
going to have a limited perk pool there. But then you can see at tier 3, we now have 2 enhanced traits. We have some of our columns are going to have more perk options in them. And then tier 5, so this is a tier 3. And then tier 5 is going to have even more. Like, look at the options here.
Na, also alles verbessert bei Stufe 5. Verbesserte Mods.
Weapon mods too.
Wichtig.
Yeah, kind of like how armor is like you have a much better
also
understanding of like
grants increased ammo generation.
What is the expectation of the things I'm getting? This like the multi perk and the enhanced perks kind of work for that too. So the odds of you getting that like
wir werden einiges zu tun haben. Aber zum Glück streamen wir direkt zu Release eine volle Woche. Bis zum Ende von Day 1. Wie gesagt, merkt es euch vor. 15. Juli gehen wir rein. Da schauen wir uns alles an, was diese ganzen neuen Systeme angeht. Werdet ihr da direkt mit hier im Stream sehen.
We're putting all of these details into the game, so people know as they're getting into this depth, they can hover over these things, understand.
Ja, mir gefällt's bisher.
We'll of course have blog
mir gefallen diese Änderungen. Das sind Änderungen, die ich mir halt oft schon gewünscht habe. Gerade Tiersets. Oh mein Gott, nach wie vor. Ich kann es nicht oft genug sagen. Und wir kriegen einen verdammten Crossbow. Nice. Crossbow mit Infinite Heavy Ammo in der Theorie. Ich frage mich, wie lange die Pfeile liegen bleiben. Allerdings. Nee, ich bin komplett da wieder. Das ist Urlaub.
One of our creators where he had this beautiful giant sword and he's like, this is what I got today and it has perfect rolls for a rocket launcher, etc., etc. And here's my new tier 1 weapon that doesn't really
das ist ja das Raketenimpulsgewehr, Omega, musst du dran denken. Deswegen, ist genauso wie eine Rocket Sidearm.
Are my weapons that I have right now or armor, like, is that going to be viable in high-end content? And the answer is of course. There are going to be a couple things in here that add incentive to
nach wie vor dran. Das möchte ich nochmal anmerken. Die Waffen, die ihr jetzt habt, werden trotzdem noch gut sein. Am Ende des Tages kommt es auf die Perks an, die auf der Waffe sind. Der größte Unterschied ist, dass ihr jetzt einfach mehr Perks auf den hochstufigen Waffen habt und dadurch einfacher den Roll bekommt, den ihr haben wollt. Abgesehen von dem Cosmetic-Kram, den ihr auf Stufe 5 bekommt. Wichtig. Das heißt nicht, dass eure Waffen useless sind. Zum größten Teil. Na, also, die Frage ist immer noch, was die anderen verbesserten Barrels, was die verbesserten Magazine und verbesserten Mods am Ende für einen Unterschied machen. Nur, dass das nochmal gesagt ist. Bevor jetzt wieder Leute anfangen rumzuschreiben mit Sunsetting.
We showed this in the reveal stream, but Tier 5s have an awesome new shader treatment and also kill effects.
Die Kill-Effekte sind was mir auch, glaube ich, sehr gut gefällt. Das ist jetzt halt Holofoil quasi, das haben wir ja jetzt schon.
And then something almost kind of similar to what we do with Sweaty Confetti, but now it's like a specific slot where it gets a custom kill effect that only comes on the Tier 5 variant.
Ich hoffe, dass sie auch mit den Kill-Effekten mehr machen.
It's kind of learning a bunch of lessons through the years of Destiny. Like, kill effects are really cool. Players like this. Now we have a new slot for it. Players really like holofoils as a chase in the game right now, and now we have Tier 5s where you get sort of a holofoil style treatment for it. So,
macht absolut Sinn.
Really
Habe ich gar kein Problem mit.
This over time. But to your point, this actually is a good segue into the next section where we're talking about new and featured gear and our artifact. So, Eric, if you want to take the stage.
Neues Featured Gear und Artifact.
Our new gear, when we drop new weapons and armor for a season or for a release,
so, das ist was Interessantes jetzt.
Get a bonus. It's going to be a little bit stronger than your other options. So, on the armor side, you are going to get a damage resistance bonus per piece you have equipped, and that is, it kind of scales by gear tier. So if I have 5 tier 1 armor pieces, I'm going to have 5% damage resistance against, everything.
Wir kriegen jetzt bestimmte Vorteile für neues Equipment, was wir nutzen. Das heißt, wenn wir neue Season-Rüstung oder Location-Rüstung jetzt tragen bei Edge of Fate, kriegen wir Schadensresistenz. Wenn wir Waffen nutzen, kriegen wir einen Schadensbuff dazu. Mal gucken. Mal gucken, wie das wird, weil da kommt es immer sehr stark darauf an, welche Waffen halt neu sind. Ne? Wenn halt in der Season keine relevanten Waffen sind, dann nutze den Damage-Buff halt nicht.
Like, I am not at a huge detriment.
Right.
But
Something that
Aber
gives you like that
10%
little
ist
bit
auch
of
nicht ohne.
edge to,
Und ich
like,
meine, es sind auch
inch out
10%
into,
im
like, the
Heavy-Slot
highest
sogar.
tier stuff, when you like really need just a little bit more health or a little bit more damage.
Aber es basiert auf eurer
Speaking of
Tierstufe,
damage,
ne?
so, you can
Das ist
see
jetzt
that
alles
the
Tier
max
5
is actually
Gear,
10%.
also.
This is a clarification. We invited some folks into the studio to look through all of this. The
Das haben sie
original
schon
number
geändert,
was
soweit ich
15%.
weiß.
It's actually 10% on your additional damage when you get all your tier 5 weapons equipped. So again, cherry on top, where it kind of gives you that edge, and also it gives you a way, kind of like in earlier releases where you walk out into the tower and you're wearing all your raid gear. You're kind of like peacocking, as y'all have framed it. And now it's, oh, hey, I have all tier 5 gear. This shows like, not only have I mastered this content, but I've earned a bunch of really cool stuff, gotten all the gear I want, and now I can carry my team through. So. When it comes to the new gear as well, what's the way that you identify that as a player?
Yeah, so if you see that little kind of teal icon in the top left corner of the armor piece, that is going to that's going to tell me that it is in the new gear pool.
Das weiß ich gerade gar nicht genau aus dem Kopf. Es kann sogar sein, dass es da bleibt, aber ich bin mir nicht sicher.
Würde
mich nicht wundern.
Also, gear, it's like a collection of exotic pieces as well.
Yeah,
so.
We hop into the collections really quick. There's actually a new section that's going to show, here's our featured gear. So if you have some things from previous releases, those are going to be a part of the build crafting as well.
Okay, es gibt jetzt auch...
A note for any newer players or returning players.
Ändert sich das dann in jeder Episode?
You can go to Xur, try to grab those. You can go into Ride of the Nine. Emissary is going to
Ich
have
schätze mal, also in jeder Season, sorry, nicht Episode.
That's a great thing to pick up before this new release starts. So that
das heißt, es gibt auch gezielt gefeatured Waffen und Rüstung, die dann von den Vorteilen profitieren und in die Season zählen.
Yeah, and
ins
we will
Artefakt.
have follow-up blogs where we're going to go line by line. I understand, like, this stream has a lot of data, it has a lot of numbers, that kind of stuff. Big lists of gear. We'll have a full
Zeig mir
bulleted
bitte
list,
mal Hierarchy
not
of
just in
Needs.
Twids,
Ihr
but
habt
in
gesagt, es gibt
sections
eine
as we keep
Überarbeitung
going.
dafür.
So,
Das interessiert mich.
I think with
Bitte.
that, we can go into the artifact as well.
Please. Okay, Artefakt. Habe ich auch heute im Video angesprochen. Mit den Waffen. Sehr Solarstrang und Stasis fokussiert.
So kind of going with that theme is we wanted this to be kind of like, scout the wild frontier. And so
Oh, Scout und... Oh, wir haben doppelte Waffen. Oh, Gott sei Dank. Gott sei Dank. Scout, Impulsgewehr, Antibarriere.
Themes that we wanted to get was like, this is gonna be like me and my fire team,
Das ist nice.
So if you're scouting solo, we have stuff for solo. If you're scouting as a group, we
ich
have
gar nicht
stuff as
dran
a group.
gedacht.
Then,
Ich habe mich nur auf die anderen Mods immer fokussiert.
Like a little more weapons focused than we maybe normally do, because we wanted to kind of like highlight that kind of like the Guardians kit, kind of down to earth, kind of like grit thing. Some of my favorite perks in these are in the fifth column. There's that first one is Radiant Shrapnel. And this is gonna add like an additive shrapnel
wird richtig gut
where
sein.
you're killing guys when they're radiant or when
Hatte ich
they're
auch im Video
when you're
angemerkt.
radiant or they are scorched. And I actually really like that, like we pay out scorched a little, because like sometimes you can't quite get that ignition,
So that's going to pair really well with
mit Solar kann man viel paaren.
Oh yeah, you could scorch a bunch of guys and then you can cause them to alt burst. It's very cool. The fourth one in this column also is a favorite of mine. It's Tangled Web, and this is going to suspend everyone when you generate a tangle via combat. And normally we do that effect, we reserve that effect for breaking the tangle, right? And now it's like on creation, and it leads to a very fun situation where you can just kind of walk up and take it, and you're like, thank you guys, I'll be back. And they can't do anything, and it kind of gets you there faster if you're not using like grapple grenades.
Elemente Pickup oder Tangle aufheben erhöht Schaden für Waffen mit demselben Element. Könnte interessant sein, je nachdem wie viel das ist.
Yeah, I think, so there's a question from V Ferrer sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asking, are there going to be more seasonal mods? And with the artifact you can see, next major update, there's going to be another row, as people know. With the featured gear, there's also going to be added exotics to that pool.
Okay, also es ist eine Reihe trotzdem noch.
We are also making some new seasonal mods that'll be released over time, correct?
Yeah, kind of the same way that we did last season, where we had the like.
Das heißt, wir kriegen mit dem Update neue Mods dazu, neue Season-Mods, kriegen eine Reihe im Artefakt, kennen wir schon, und neue Waffen kommen, also neue Exotic Weapons aus der Sammlung gehen in den Featured Pool.
I believe we are at the end of the stream. Thank you so much for joining us on the couch.
war deutlich mehr, als ich dachte. Für viele nochmal, also vieles kannte man aus Videos schon. Nächste Woche gibt es den nächsten Stream. Okay, das heißt nächste Woche Portal, Power Level und die Progression, die wir haben. Okay. Wo wir dann auch die neuen Banes und sowas sehen.
This is information heavy, as I mentioned. We do have a slate of blog content that'll be coming live. We'll have a recap on Thursday. We have a standalone next Wednesday that'll talk a little bit more about gear tiering. Next Thursday, we'll also have another recap for that stream and additional sandbox information. And then we keep marching into launch with more patch note previews.
Ja, wird jetzt langsam wieder voll mit Beiträgen.
All that kind of stuff. So outside of the full suite of gear you'll be earning on Kepler, bunch of stuff to discover. So thank you so much again for joining. This has been a fun stream. And,
wir kriegen einen verdammten Crossbow, Leute.
Toss you over to our good friend Fallout. He's going to be talking through a bunch of what we said today. He was one of the creators that we invited to Bungie with hands-on, so he can explain.
Ja, crazy.
Things. And we'll be collecting questions throughout the rest of the day.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
So viel dazu jedenfalls. Ja. Was soll ich dazu sagen? Was sagt ihr, Leute? Ich bin ehrlich, mit dem Crossbow habe ich jetzt nicht zwingend gerechnet. Ich weiß nicht, wie es euch da geht. Ich bin recht happy damit gewesen. Vieles wurde einfach nochmal natürlich für die Leute, die auch die ganzen Videos von den Creatoren geguckt haben, nochmal verdeutlicht und auch nochmal erklärt natürlich. Aber ich muss sagen, nach wie vor das, was ich gesehen habe von den Änderungen und bezüglich Gear-Tiering und der Rüstung und den Tier-Sets und sowas, gefällt mir sehr gut. Ich freue mich da sehr drauf. Gibt einem nochmal endlich Grund, einfach auf Rüstung zu achten und die Kombination aus Rüstung, nicht nur bezüglich den Stats, sondern auch wegen den Set-Bonis. Ja, was anderes als ich freue mich drauf, kann ich da eigentlich gar nicht zu sagen, um ehrlich zu sein. Der Crossbow hat mich wirklich überrascht, vor allem weil es nicht einfach einer ist, der aus Rising genommen wurde in dem Fall, sondern weil es halt einer ist, der auch noch, ich sag mal, anders funktioniert, sondern, also, ihr schießt halt einen starken Bolzen immer wieder, den ihr wieder aufsammeln könnt. Ihr könnt die Bolzen customizen, mit je nachdem, welche Bolzenart ihr auf den Crossbow rollt. Ihr könnt einen explodierenden Bolzen schießen für mehr Clear oder Zusatzdamage auf Single Targets. Ihr könnt einen Bolzen verschießen, den ihr aus Gegnern rausreißen könnt. Und ich bin mir sicher, dass da auch noch andere bei sind. Also, ich freue mich drauf. Lasst mich gerne sonst mal wissen, was ihr dazu sagt. Und dann schauen wir uns nächste Woche an, was noch da abgehen wird.
Together.